So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. In this episode, we're going to talk about the 17 Pro Max versus the 15 Pro Max months later. Now, I've had the 17 Pro Max for about 4 months now, and I constantly am analyzing and comparing to the previous versions that I had used to create a video to help you guys out to see how I've been feeling as somebody who has come from some of these older devices. So let's go ahead and talk about firstly the real world speed differences. And if I'm being totally frank with you, very honest with you, I really don't see anything substantial to speak of when it does come to speed. You kind of don't really feel it too much with just regular day-to-day tasks. You do feel it a lot when you are gaming. You'll get like less heat in the 17 Pro Max, but you'll also get a little bit better RAM management if you're really pushing it heavy with multiple applications. And I mean more than what you see on my page right here. Like, you have a ton of things open. Maybe you're using a DisplayPort to monitor using multiple applications. You might actually run into some benefits on the 17 Pro Max. But generally, day to day, I feel like using the iPhone over here on the 15 Pro Max doesn't feel like you're at all behind here in 2026. And the reason why is because it still had a promotion. It still has a 8 gigabytes of RAM. It still has the A17 Pro chip in here. So it doesn't really feel like I'm actually that far behind. A17 Pro, 3.78 gigahertz. Now over here on the 17 Pro Max though, it is slightly higher clock speed and more RAM. But in reality, some of the other differences have been more noticeable, like this one right here, the battery life. The battery life on this phone has been a nice jump from the 15 Pro Max. Now, the 15 Pro Max was never a disappointing phone though. I still find in 2026, making it through a day is actually a breeze for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, provided you have a decent capacity on the phone. But it's definitely not going much more than that, maybe a quarter of the next day. For light users, they're going to make it 2 days, but really the 17 Pro Max is seriously impressive in this department. So if you have a 15 Pro Max and you were on the contemplation side of, I want to go ahead and upgrade mostly because I want better battery life, Nick, what am I getting? And the honest answer is you're getting 2 to 3 hours more screen time day to day. That's what I've been experiencing for the 17 Pro Max. And that's pretty nice jump. If you ask me, I think it makes the phone feel extremely impressive in the battery. It still retains that good iPhone standby time, whereas if you don't use it much, it kind of sips battery. And it does charge a little bit faster than the 15 Pro Max, but really the battery change has been pretty noticeable. So if you do want to go ahead and get longer life, it is a worthy change here for this phone. You don't really need to use low power mode on either of these phones though. They tend to really do a pretty phenomenal job when it just comes to straight up battery life. But again, if you are looking for a nice jump, that's probably a worthy change for you here. Now the next one, we talked a bit about it in performance, but the iPhone 17 Pro Max is seriously impressive in the thermal and throttling behavior of the device. It really is. Like, it wasn't just a marketing thing. Like, they really do live up to this, because I'll be playing a game even without a case on this phone, and I could barely feel any heat on this phone. You know when I actually felt heat on this phone? Probably only when I was downloading a ton of applications when I first set this phone up. And also when plugging this in while playing a game. Like, sometimes if you charge a phone while doing something heavy, it can kind of make it warm up, because you are actually charging up the cells inside the body of the phone. But generally, the thermal and throttling behavior, a substantial change from the 15 Pro Max, especially for those people who like to use their phone without a case. I tend to notice a lot of heat up in this area of the 15 Pro Max, and it's just not my favorite thing. However, this is still better than it was prior to when I first came out. They did do some software updates to make sure the iPhone 17 Pro Max or 15 Pro Max doesn't throttle so much, and it tends to give me definitely a bit better battery, or a bit better thermals than it used to. But generally, it's definitely more impressive on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now, months later, I gotta say, the camera department is a big upgrade for the iPhone 17 Pro Max as well. So where they used to have this antenna right here, you now have a camera control on this phone. The antennas are actually right here now on the phone, so you'll find them kind of like there. There's also one up there, so not my favorite look. I actually think the titanium frame looked a little bit better than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. We'll talk more about that build in a minute, but the camera months later has been definitely better in a lot of areas, including video quality, zooming, photography, but also if we take a look at the front, this is one of the bigger upgrades. I think a lot of people do tend to take selfies and stuff on their iPhone, so definitely this is a big change. And if we go over here, you kind of have all these features, but really it's the zooming, it's the higher quality slow motion, it's the higher quality front-facing camera. For the 15 Pro Max though, the deal is this. This was already a pro level phone, and having 5x zoom, having 25x, it was already ahead of the 15 Pro, and it still feels extremely usable and extremely high quality in 2026. You even have log recording on here. So I don't think it's a thing that's going to pull too many people as just the pure camera. I think the battery one is a bigger deal here when we talk about these two than the camera, but front-facing camera now starting to look old on all iPhones prior to the 17 series, and this one's no different. So if you get your selfies on, I think that's a bigger change from this one. Also, if you like to zoom and you like a little bit more 48 megapixel action across all three, this one is definitely a good upgrade for you. But you gotta have to use those things to kind of make it really worth that upgrade. Now, when it comes to the build, the design of these phones ergonomically, I gotta say, I don't love the 17 Pro Max as much. These months later, I'm trying to come around to it, and I said this before in a previous comparison early on, but it hasn't changed. I just like the titanium feel more. I think it feels more rock solid, feels a little bit more durable, definitely stronger metals on the edges. When you pick it up, it's cold in the morning. It just feels like an absolute tank on the titanium 15 Pro Max. So this phone to me feels like it's higher quality for some. Well, we know the reason, titanium. But the back is still a bit more exposed here. At the same time, this phone doesn't dent quite as easily. It's not aluminum, but it doesn't have the better scratch protection on the front. And it's not quite as nice to hold on the sides. They kind of dig in your palms a little bit. Not my favorite there, but flat edges makes it pretty easy to grip. Generally, the titanium, this is the natural titanium, by the way, it still feels like a little bit more of a premium build than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But here's the thing about the 17 Pro Max. This feels more comfortable to actually hold day to day on the corners. So when I'm actually holding this in the palm, this phone actually kind of just feels like it flows right into your hand, like it's supposed to feel like that. At the same time, because it's got a 6.9 versus the 6.7 inch display, this screen just feels very bulky and large. Now, that's a good thing for people who want large phones. I understand that totally. But you kind of don't get that like large but kind of compact light feel of the 17 Pro Max. So the 17 Pro Max is a very nice balance between not super large, not super heavy, but also durable. So it's like a really, to me, this was probably the best kind of feeling iPhone until the iPhone Air came out. This was one of the better ones. So if you have this and you ergonomically don't want it to get worse for you in terms of like size and slipperiness, I would probably skip the 17 Pro Max. But if you're like, nah, I want a smoother feel in the hand, I want better cameras, better battery, but I also want a larger screen. I'm always trying to upgrade to something bigger because my phone, I do everything on it. Well, then the 17 Pro Max is right up your alley. You're going to be incredibly happy with that upgrade. Also, when we talk about displays in general, since we're already on displays here, the 17 Pro Max does have a newer OLED panel made by Samsung, but it's definitely one of their higher quality ones. It's higher quality than the one on the 15 Pro Max, but you know, where it really shines is the anti-glare properties. You can kind of see a little bit more glare on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's not huge, it's not substantial, but it is there. And the brightness outdoors does far exceed that of the iPhone 15 Pro Max on this phone. So if you find yourself out in outdoor scenarios a lot, the display is a pretty massive upgrade here on the iPhone 17 Pro Max coming from this one. Also with thinner bezels, those dynamic islands, it just feels like a more all-screen kind of phone feel here. So let's also talk about the connectivity, the phone calling experience. So the actual reception strength was already pretty solid on the 15 Pro Max. Phone calling actually got better though on 17 Pro Max. I find better reception, but also louder speakerphone calls. Where I find it better reception is in some more fringe spots like garages, things where you have things blocking things off. I found it to get a little bit better, a little bit more reliable on the 17 Pro Max. I also find the Wi-Fi connectivity and cellular faster. It's small, but it's noticeable. Like it just feels a little bit snappier in those connectivity areas. But 15 Pro Max is only a little bit slower. It's not like substantially slower. So I do think that that's an upgrade for you if you care about that stuff. But the 17 Pro Max is still not way better, but it's definitely something I noticed over the months that I've been using these two phones. Now, I haven't really noticed too many bugs, but there are some weird chops and lags sometimes with iOS 26.2 on the 17 Pro Max. Same goes for the 15 Pro Max. iOS 26 just hasn't been to me the most stable software out there, but it still gets updated. It's still polished. It still has all the apps you want to use. And so kind of wrapping it up here, which phone or which one actually makes sense what makes sense to do right now? If you have a 15 Pro Max, I think you're fine to keep it right now. If you already had not purchased the 17 Pro Max and you just want to wait on the 18 Pro Max or the Folds or something. But if you find yourself wanting more battery, you want a bigger screen, and you want better cameras because you rely on your cameras for your profession or whatever you're doing, I do think it's still a worthy update, but make sure you get a good solid trade-in value on your 15 Pro Max. It's still an awesome device here. But if you're like, I don't need that stuff, I'll wait it out, I think that's a solid pick as well. I think you'll be fine either way. The moral of the story here is that the 15 Pro Max still impresses me in 2026. That's the moral of this video. That is the conclusion of this video. And the 17 Pro Max, great phone indeed. Love the battery. It's also impressive, but because it's the latest, it's still a higher price. And I do feel like it's kind of like the last of, well, maybe not the last, but it's going to be kind of a short run, I think, with this aluminum feel and this body. I think they're going to switch it up probably within 2 years or so. So I don't think it's going to stick around too long, this actual design. We'll see what happens, though. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will catch you all in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well. And peace.